and I'm very glad I can present to you Mario Bischof, his senior penetration tester at Infoguard, and he will tell me what you use, and I will tell you who you are.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the nice introduction. Yeah, welcome to my presentation, which is called Tell Me What You Use, and I will tell you who you are. I put here chapter 2. The reason for this is because I did a presentation with the same title at the Innovation Days at Infoguard, but it's a sequel, so it's new stuff, right? So, quick introduction. My name is Mario Bischof. I'm a penetration tester at the red team at Infoguard. I'm also a PhD student at the University of Fribourg, and we're doing an applied science research collaboration together. So, what's this talk about? I want to introduce you to some part of interdisciplinary research that we're doing. This is work in progress, so there are no final conclusions yet about this, but I think there are some really interesting observation and hypotheses that I already was able to make that I want to share with you today. And in the end, some kind of outlook that you know where this is going. So everything started with a tool that I called Account Braber that I developed. This is an open source intelligence project, so this means that the tool operates on data that is publicly available. Everything that the tool does, it just does user enumeration on web applications. This just means it looks if an email address is registered at the platform, and it writes it down. So to develop this tool, I analyzed about 300 to 400 web applications. Not every web application allows for user enumeration, of course, but yeah, so in the end, the tool currently supports about around 100 platforms. So another cool thing, we did an IPA project at our company. So one of our apprentices did his final project for the apprenticeship and did some enhancements for the tool. So shout out to Berke Kara for his valuable contributions to the project. So what does the output of the tool look like? You can see every row is an entry for one email, and you have these columns here for the different web applications. And wherever you have a 1, this means the tool detected that the email is registered at this web platform, and wherever you have a 0, this means the email was not detected. So what is the status? It's still in a data acquisition phase, but currently I have a data set of around 400 random email addresses, Swiss emails. So this is currently my training data, right? What I also know is gender and age. What I want to say here, these are self-declared properties. We're well aware that currently, maybe you noticed here that we only have male and female. So this is a bit unfortunate, but currently it's still the case that for most web applications you only have 2 options. But we're well aware that this doesn't really cover. This is not an ideal representation of our community, but it's just what the data on what we needed to use, right? Okay. Now I have the data of these 400 samples, and now you can start to make some calculations on the data, and there are some very interesting observations that you can already make just by looking at 400 samples. So one thing that I did, I looked at the average ages. So every one of these blue bullet points represents one web application, right? So, and I calculated the average age of each registrant, the sum of the average of the registrants of each web application. So the y-axis is the average age, and the x-axis doesn't really mean anything. I just scattered it a little bit more open on a plane so that it's a little bit more visible. What you now can see, the average ages somehow mostly are around between 40 and 50, which makes perfect sense to me if I think about the average age of internet users, right? But you can also see that there are some points that kind of gravitate a little bit more up and a little bit more down. So it's very interesting to look at these these ages. So the first one is 54, and then you have 4 points which are in the higher 30s. And now it gets a little bit cliche. Some cliches are confirmed, not all. But yeah, the first one is a porn site. Yeah. Second, 39 is software development, online gaming, a mobile travel tracker, and a baby shop. So to me, it makes kind of sense that users of a baby shop, the average age is not 60, right? At least to me. Yeah. So we already see that just by looking at these 400 samples and my sample of these over 100 platforms, that we kind of get some data that makes quite sense, and we can already see some trends. Okay, then I looked at the gender distribution, and each one of these bar charts stands for one web application, right? So you have the age again on the y-axis, and yeah, I just you can now see the blue part are registrants that identify to the male side, and the orange part is female. So, and here I looked at online shops that are technology related, and again, I think it's kind of an interesting and reasonable trend for me that yeah, at least in the last 10, 15 years, there are still more people who identify as male who are interested in technology. So this is also kind of something that makes sense to me. Now, if you go into the adult corner, you can see, for example, porn is again this porn site is male dominated. Then casual dating is again a little bit more on the male identifying side, and here the shop with toys also, and then the normal dating is kind of again a little bit more evened out. But what's also interesting here for this example, you see that here we have much fewer registrants in total, right? So, and if you look here, we have 80 or kind of 50 and 30 in total. So. And if you think about it, just by looking at the numbers of registrants that we can identify, maybe we can also kind of estimate a size of a user base, maybe, would be also an interesting question. Or also maybe the sensitivity of the topic, right, would be also kind of something. Then I have another slide. This is a little bit more miscellaneous. I have 2 online shopping portals again, which are more on the general online shopping side, but which also include a little bit more products of hygiene and beauty products. So, and we can see that the users of these sites kind of tend to lean a little bit more to the female side again. Also, the online pharmacy, and here again, the online gaming is really heavily male dominated. So again, not something that is really surprising, kind of cliche sometimes, but yeah, we again see we can get out of these 400 samples quite some interesting insights and trends. So yeah, a question for the audience. I have 4 bars here. Is someone able to guess what's behind these bars? So you can just shout a name if you have an idea, or news. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It's not news, but yeah. So it's big tech, right? So it's and you can see I have these 400 samples here, and you can see each of these bars kind of has a very large share of the total. So what you can derive from this, I mean, almost everyone uses it, right? Almost everyone has an Apple ID, Google account, and stuff like that. And it's also kind of evened out between the people who identify as male and female, right? So yeah, very interesting. And another thought, if you think about it, that you can make with this data, if you kind of have someone who has only an Apple ID but not a Google account. So there may be some probability that this person has an iPhone or a Mac device, and vice versa, right? Okay, yeah, big tech, right. So another example, again, from the little more adult corner, but it's not about that. This is a very interesting statistical example, a specific use case. So this is a forum where you can talk about prostitution and stuff like that. But what's interesting is that the website just tells you how many members they have. So they have about 49,000 members. So my assumption now was, okay, the Swiss population is about 8.7 million people. So if you calculate this down, 49,000% is about 0.5% of the whole population of Switzerland, right? And you can also say it like this. This means every 177 citizen, technically, statistically speaking, must be signed up on this this platform. So, okay, I went and looked at my data, and of course, not of course, but interestingly, I found that number 144 and number 353 were registered, right? So, and another thought that you can do here, yeah, could it be a problem if you register yourself with your private email here? So, could you make yourself blackmailable? So maybe if a hacker found out that the CXO of a company is registered here, could this be useful information? Could maybe his wife or her husband be interested in this information? Maybe. So yeah, you don't want to be number 144, number 353. Use throwaway email addresses. So yeah, so these are some really interesting informations that we can already gather from this data just by looking at these 400 samples, which is a really, really small sample set. But where I want to go with this is kind of not just think about single web applications, but think about how can we connect this information and how can we maybe possibly create a profile about someone just by looking at where someone is registered, right? So, and one thing that you can do, and here again, it's about finding relationships between these different platforms. So one thing that you could do is use prototyping theory. I just arbitrarily made up prototypes. So my prototype 1 is called outdoor enthusiast. So that's the kind of person who does a lot of sports, is out in the woods hiking and so on. And another prototype I called hipster coder, has a GitHub account and so on. It's kind of has a technical affinity. I now went and just said, okay, the outdoor enthusiast, this person is registered at this and this and this platform. Like, I don't know, I just say something, commute, geocaching, and so on. And now I can look at a specific pattern of a person and see, okay, how high is the overlap of the pattern of the person or the email with the prototype. So for the outdoor enthusiast here, for this email, for this pattern, it's only a 50% match. Doesn't really say a lot at the moment. Maybe sometimes this person likes to go out, likes to do a little bit of sports or not. It's not so telling. But here, for the hipster programmer, we have a 71.4 match. Yeah, I think there is a higher probability that this person maybe knows to code, maybe has some technical affinity. And where this is going, you define a lot of prototypes, prototype A, B, C, D, E, and so on. And you attribute interests to these prototypes, like here, interest A, B, C, D. If this is the outdoor enthusiast, and this person would be interested in hiking, doing a lot of sports, being outdoors, and so on. And then if you want to look at the profile of one person, you calculate the match of all these prototypes, and then you get the sum of all these probabilities and interests kind of then gives you a really detailed profile about someone. So for this person X, this person maybe is not so much interested in A, B, C, and D, but is highly likely interested in D, right? And also, the fact that someone is not interested at a specific platform could also maybe tell you valuable things, right? Like with the example with Apple and Google, right? So if you see that you cannot find an email on a specific platform, this could also be some kind of a meta information. What's also interesting, if you think about the number of registrations that an email has, so if an email has very few registrations, you could also assume a couple of things. Maybe it's just a secondary email account, yeah, like a throwaway email account that's not so often used. Maybe it's kind of a more security spam-aware person that is just a little bit more careful where this person signs up. Or maybe it's an older person. I didn't really calculate this from my data, but it's just an assumption that maybe the older the people get, the fewer registrations they have, the fewer they use the internet. Yeah, could be a reasonable assumption. Yeah, so what you also could do, and this is kind of a little bit a different view. What I said in the beginning, from our sample data, we know the age and the gender identification, sometimes also the profession, which is also really interesting. But if we don't have these properties, just using the data and the tool, would it be possible to predict for a completely unknown person behind a random email to kind of predict with which gender this person identifies with, or the age, right? So looking at the age again, we have again this average ages chart. The red points here are one specific pattern of a person behind an email, right? So this person is registered at these web applications with these red dots, right? So I think it is a fair assumption that there is a high probability that the age of this person could be somewhere here in this area, right? I think it would be also a fair assumption to say, okay, the age of this person, there is a high probability that it's somewhere on this line or somewhere around this line, right? So I didn't really calculate any specific function here. It's just manually drawn by me. But of course, there are methods that you can approximate this. Of course, it's not black and white. This is all kind of fuzzy data, right? You can only work with probabilities. But the more platforms you have, the more registrations that you can collect, the more detailed I think, and the more certain I think these predictions will be. You could then again make the same about the gender identification. So these are again the web applications. Not all. I just kind of made this exemplary. And I just looked at the percentage of people who identify as male or female of these web platforms. And in the middle, you kind of have both. And on the right, it's only male identifying people who use and the other way around. So if you again look at the specific pattern of an email, and you have these three platforms with 81%, 78%, and so on the female side, and one here on the male side, I think it would be kind of a fair assumption to say the probability of the person behind this email to identify as female would be around 65%, right? So everything that I did, I summed up the probabilities for the female part and divided it by 4, right? So, but these are just assumptions, right? Didn't really prove it yet, but these are the hypotheses that we currently have and that we want to prove. So, yeah, and to give you some outlook where this could go, I mean, one idea that you could do would be something like this. Man, you all know Have I Been Pawned, where you can enter your email and it tells you in which data breaches the email is. You could also kind of make a service that is tellmewhatiuse.com. This doesn't really exist, but which tells you where the email is registered. Of course, this shouldn't be kind of a free stalking service. You kind of would need to prove that it's really your email, right? So, yeah, but this doesn't exist yet. So, some final remarks about this. as I said, it's still in a data acquisition phase. It's really cumbersome to collect this data. I thought it would be kind of easier. The analysis of the results is also incomplete. I just did a few calculations prior to this presentation, but already with just this very few data, 400 samples, you can make some trends visible. You can do some interesting charts and results, but it's really not at all complete, this analysis. The whole thing doesn't really scale well, so I underestimated this, so I kind of have to use Selenium sometimes, which is really ugly. I really don't like it, but I really can't get around it. And because of that, the collection for just one email takes really quite some time, so it can be between 3 to 5 minutes. So it was really something to just collect these 400, and I think to make a really meaningful study, there would be much more data needed. I'm also evaluating the methods that I can use to analyze this. Of course, some machine learning would be interesting, kind of a neural network model, but this is all to be evaluated and to be done. What would be also really interesting, and this is also kind of where this wants to go to make some more advanced predictions. If you think about if you would be able to kind of predict the political orientation or the religion about someone, I mean, this is where it can get really dangerous, right? So, but I want to close with this. I think if it's possible, this will be done, or it is already being done. And our intention is kind of to raise awareness of this, kind of to prove what our assumptions are, that this is really possible. And yeah, maybe to raise awareness that the people kind of maybe sometimes think twice where they use their private email, where they just register. Because just by gathering this information, which is kind of publicly available, you can really find out a lot about someone behind the email. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to have you here, Mario. And please ask your questions. We have one here in front, one in the back.
Or we can start with, I work for the same company, maybe we start with the other one.
As you will, as you wish, you can ask
my name is Simon, I work also at Infoguard, but not related to Mario. Thank you for that interesting talk. Maybe you're not, I'm sure you are aware of, but I saw the presentation at the DevCon this year, Track the Planet, which blew really my mind, because they also investigated and done a lot of user enumeration of Azure and also from OneDrive, and they came to the same conclusion. It's incredible how much information you can gather just from open source data. And I thought myself when I watched your talk, was that topic neglected in the past? And now we will see in the next few years like explosions of those services, which might be like really be a threat to our privacy. Just speaking from a user which use the internet daily.
I don't know. I cannot predict the future, but I don't know. I mean, with all this machine learning AI hype, I think this will really accelerate. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but yeah, we will see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question here in the back.
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, sorry. For the beginning, you said not every website is able that you can enumerate users. What are some popular websites that didn't work out in this test?
Yeah, so I don't want to really mention specific names, right? I did blur out everything, but some areas of industry which are really security aware are insurances, of course. Also kind of banking, right? So you have a contract number, you cannot really use a name. Gambling sites, right? So yeah, not every web application, but these are some that are kind of hard. But also sometimes I was really surprised because I thought, this shouldn't be secure. So just by the look and feel, and it wasn't really possible.
Another question in the back.
Could you share how this request works? How do you get the data if it's registered or not? How do you get the hit?
Yeah, I mean that's what I showed in the talk at Innovation Days, because this is chapter 2. Yeah, but I can tell you a little bit something. I mean, sometimes the web application just tells you, right? Just tells you, yeah, this email already is registered. I mean, you can then if you want to do it a little bit more lower level, you just use, for example, a Python requests library, and then you search for some response in the HTTP response. Even more convenient if you have an API endpoint that you can just call, maybe just by a GET request or a POST. This is also kind of very easy. There are also, if not the easiest cases are present, you can kind of do some tricks where you use the sign-up form. You try to submit it, not completely, and it already tells you this. Yeah, there are a couple of very interesting use cases that I stumbled upon, but yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. Just because you mentioned Troy Hunt, I've been Pound. I saw some months ago that he did something similar. You could put your email address, and he did a pretty scary map of everywhere that your address appear.
Mm-hmm.
And did you also check this new application that he has?
No, I didn't, but I'm happy to look into it, yeah.
I mean, he did for a, I think, Australian newspaper. I don't remember. I think it was beginning of summer when I saw something like this.
Okay. No, I don't know it. But what I have to say, I want to focus a little bit on the Swiss audience, right? So I have a lot of platforms that Swiss people use. But yeah, I'm happy to look into it. It sounds interesting, yeah.
Any more questions? Maybe I can ask a question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked into the reusability of pseudonymized data? Because I think this is a little bit related in the sense when you have like one pseudonymized data set and another pseudonymized data set, for example, when people use their, I don't know, their washing machine or when the house, the electricity convergence, and when they are put together, you can get a profile of a person, and then you can also relate what kind of person this might be. Are they working as a mother? Do they have a baby? There's all kinds of data sets. I think there was some research done where people try to figure out how easy it is to re-pseudonymize data, basically, re-engineer data sets if you have like two different variations of data sets where you know it has a rough overlap of population. Mm-hmm. Might be a little bit related to that.
Yeah, might be. Yeah, I didn't look into that, but yeah.
It's a question of big data and encryption, partly, or of anonymization, pseudonymization data. You know, when is it truly anonymized?
So it's just, I guess you would need kind of a lot more data to do this. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah,
know
yes,
this,
you
but
probably do, but
yeah.
It might be interesting to see if there's a relation to your research.
Yeah.
Might be.
Thank you. We'll get into that.
So it's more like the scientific. It's like more the university side to probably do this. But
yeah, try to remember the term, and I will have a look at it.
Are there any more questions, please?
I have one if nobody wants to speak up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Have a company found out that you enumerated your users? I mean, have they contacted you just based on the user agent or via your provider?
You mean a specific web application?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
not a single one.
No.
Okay.
No.
Use a special user agent that they know like it's part of this tool?
No, I just use the user agent that is kind of normal. Let's say I basically took my user agent and I modified it a little bit so that it's not that it's not really my user agent, but it's kind of a usual user agent, right? But not something very specific that you could create a fingerprint of. But I try to use as few headers and stuff like that as possible. So I clean out every header that is possible. So sometimes, this is another example, sometimes the application expects strange headers to be present, but I try to clean it out as much as possible. So there's really not a lot of things that I want to send. So the least possible things to do this.
And how is maintenance going?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I said it's really cumbersome. It's really annoying. I mean, if I take out the tool 2 or 3 months later, so of course about 5 platforms don't work anymore because they change the API or whatever. It's down currently. The response is different. Maybe the language suddenly is different. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit annoying. So, but I try to keep it as simple as possible at the moment.
Another question, do you work together? I mean, you're a lecturer, right? So do you cooperate with other university students, or do you have like a bigger group where you work together on that, or is it your project?
No, I'm kind of alone. Yeah, at Fribourg at the Humanist Institute,
Yeah.
so kind of the security guy there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I have a lot of collaborations at the company. So a lot of exchange. We have a lot of experts that give me input, and but if someone has inputs and feedback, please feel free also to contact me afterwards, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Any more questions? No? Then it's up to me to thank you for your talk and wish you good luck for your research
Thank you.
and PhD.
Thanks. Thanks
It's
a
a
lot.
hard tough, I know.
Thank you.